Hello friends, welcome to Shiva Academy. This video series is mainly to address the questions and the comments that I am receiving either in the comment section or through the mail. So as a continuation of that, in this video, we are going to see about a question related to the usage of return keyword. So I've got a couple of questions related to return keyword usage in the function. So I just want to cover it, how we are using the return keyword in procedure, function and anonymous block. So let us start with a simple example. So here's a simple procedure I'm trying to create. Inside that I've just put one DBMS output statement followed by a return keyword and followed by another DBMS output statement. See, the return keyword in procedure is basically to use to return out of the execution or to return to the calling API. The intention is not to return a value, instead to return out of the execution. So let us understand better by executing this example. So here is the same procedure. First let me create this procedure. Okay, the procedure is created now. Now let me just execute it. As you can see here, after printing the line, that is after printing the first DBMS output, the moment it encounters the keyword return, it returns the execution. It is not printing the second statement, that is it is not printing the second DBMS output statement. So in procedure as well as in anonymous block, we'll be using the return statement to return out of the execution rather than returning a value. In case if you try to return a value something like this, the procedure will give you an error. See, now you'll be able to see the compilation error. Now let us see, show error. As you can see here, the error is in procedure, the return statement cannot contain an expression. So we will not be able to return a value using the return keyword in procedure. In procedure, the maximum supported is just a return keyword to return out of the execution. Now let us see another example where we'll be using a function. Here's a simple function I'm creating, which is just going to take two input values and it is just returning the sum of two values. First let us compile and execute this program. Then let us see a few examples. Okay, so here is the function. So let me just create the function. Now the function is created, compiled. So I'm just calling the function in the select statement. Perfect, we are just passing 1 and 2. It is just returning the summation of 2. Suppose in case if I am removing the return statement here. Okay, so just let me remove this part. Now tell me, when I'm trying to compile or when I'm trying to create this procedure, what would happen? Okay, just think for 2 seconds. Just tell me now what will happen if we create this function without a return keyword. Okay, now let me compile this. As you can see here, when we are trying to create the function will get successfully created. It will not give you any compilation error or something. But the problem is when we are trying to call this function, it will throw an error saying that function, that is a call to the function completed, but no return statement was executed. So a return statement in a function is mandatory. However, during the creation time or compilation time, even if you omit the return statement, Oracle will compile the function, whereas at runtime this will throw an error. So the return statement in function is mandatory. So let me just add it back. Now we are able to execute the function with return statement. Fine. Suppose if you are doing an error handling, let us see one more example. Of course the same function, but in this case what I'm doing here, I've just put an exception block and just see the same function at this line, that is at the line where LV temp equal to 1 by 0, this will raise an exception called 0 by 0 divide error. So because of that, this function will not be able to return the value from the return statement. The moment exception is read, the control will automatically transfer to the exception handling section. So in this case, what will happen? This is a function. The function has a return statement, but we are sure that the return statement is not going to get executed because even before the return statement, the function will throw an exception and the exception is being handled, but there is no return value from the exception block also. What will happen here? Now let us compile this function and see what's going to happen. So here is the function. So I've just compiled the same function. Now when you are trying to call this function, obviously before the return statement the exception will get raised, and since the exception is handled, the control will go to the exception handling section. But since there is no return value or no return keyword in the exception handling section, it will throw an error saying that the call to a PL/SQL function completed, but no return statement was executed. So always make sure that you return some default value or whatever the meaningful value. So in this case, I'm just -1, return -1. So I'm just compiling the function. Function is compiled. Let me call the function again. So in this case, since the exception is raised and from the exception handling section, -1 is being returned. Very similar to the procedure, even in the anonymous block, we'll be using the return keyword just to return out of the execution. So here is a simple anonymous block. As we know that if you try to execute this will just return after printing the first DBMS output statement. Since it is returning from here, the second DBMS output statement will not get printed. Same way, we will not be able to use any expression here. If you try to use an expression as part of return statement, you will get an exception error saying that in a procedure, return statement cannot contain an expression. Okay. So this is the example we just now saw. In an anonymous block also we can use the return keyword, but it is very similar to the usage in a procedure. Like we need wherever you want to return out of the execution, you can return the exception. You can use the return keyword, but you will not be able to use the expression as part of return keyword. If you have learned something new, please like this video, subscribe and stay tuned for new future videos, interview question, SQL practical question and concept videos. If you want any questions to be answered, you can drop in the comment section or you can drop to this mail ID. Thanks a lot for watching this video.